Welcome back to the Rob Taylor Tattoos podcast. Today I have with me Jay Schaff, music attorney from Nashville, Tennessee. Jay, thank you again for coming all the way up here and being on the show, man.
Of course. Thanks for having me, Rob.
But we were just talking about how you got into being an attorney. What made you want to be an attorney?
Yeah. I like I was saying, I just kind of really wanted to be a part of the, I guess, entertainment community in general, whatever that was. I was an athlete growing up and I went to college for sports. And so I kind of just figured, for a long part of your life as a kid, you kind of think you're going to be whatever pro athlete, whatever it might be. And then I guess, you go to college, you realize there's more to life than trying to pursue that. And I had coincidentally, I guess, gotten into a little bit of music production while I was also playing sports. So while in college, so I kind of just, blended the two. And
what sports did you play?
I played baseball. I played baseball and hockey growing up. I was better at hockey than I was at baseball, but baseball's a lot easier to play in college and get a scholarship for. But yeah, so I ended up doing that, and then about my junior year in college, I had a great year in school and in sports, and I kind of figured, I wasn't gonna keep chasing the dream, and what the next chapter was gonna be, and I thought for a second maybe being like a sports agent or something like that would be kind of cool. And the first step in doing that is going to law school.
Agents have to go through law school too?
So technically no, but in I would say 75 to 90% of the time, a sports agent outside of like a player's best friend is also an attorney or was an attorney at some point. So that was sort of the natural first step. And then also, you know what, I just didn't really want to I didn't want to graduate in a way. Like I was happy being in school, is fun. Obviously no real responsibility. So I was like, what can I do to further my education and also not have to worry about like real life for a while? And law school was it, man. And it was a blast.
It was a blast?
Yeah, you know what? I get that response a lot from people, and I often say that and leave it open-ended to see what people say, but yeah, man, it's a community, it's like a team, it's like an army. You're all kind of striving for the same goal, which is to pass and graduate, and
okay.
And at the same time, you're ultra competitive with each other because class rank is like a big deal and all these other things. And so it was kind of like a reality TV show, like first year of law school. And I enjoyed being at the center of the drama.
Really? You like a lot of reality TV?
I've been getting into it a lot more lately. Obviously growing up, always like a big Survivor fan and like Amazing Race. I love that kind of crap. But my girlfriend is a Bravo, I don't even know what you call it. Just someone who's a super fan of all the TV shows on that channel.
Okay.
So obviously I've been getting into it more, watching things with her, and yeah, reality TV is really cool. It's definitely it obviously has its little quirks where everything's produced or certain things are produced, but other than that, I think it's kind of fun to sort of forget about your own life drama and get into someone else's on television.
Have you seen the show Alone?
No, I have not.
So if you like the survivalist, this is the ultimate survivalist show. They take 10 competitors, they get 10 items, they take them to the most unforgiving environments on Earth, drop them off. They're completely alone by themselves, and it's last man standing gets $500,000. And how somebody hasn't died yet is beyond me. But dude, it is.
Do they all go to the same location?
No.
Just 10 random locations.
Yes. Well, they go to the same location in the sense of like the same region, but they're dropped off far enough apart where they're not going to run into each other.
Yeah, I got you. What's an example?
Like Bear Country, British Columbia, or like the latest episode, they just got dropped off in South Africa or something like that in the desert.
Jeez.
How did you break into working with artists? Did
Yeah,
it come with the job? Did they already like start just giving you clients?
sort of. I mean, no. So when I was in law school, I got really lucky and basically met a band, or I guess a brother duo, that was in the same city as us. And I was asked to manage them, which was, I had no idea even what that was, what that meant. I had no intention of doing something like that in real life. But I was still in school and I was like, yeah, fuck it. I'll manage you guys. And, I hit up one person that I knew in the music industry, who was from a town nearby of mine when I was growing up. And it was just coincidence that he had owned this pretty popular music blog at the time that got converted into more of like a mainstream artist discovery channel on Complex. But he was starting his own label through that channel with a major label system called Republic. And he had been, I guess, just coincidentally trying to reach out to these guys for a few months. And so when I hit him about it, he was like, I've been trying to get in touch and, can you guys be on a plane to LA in a couple of weeks? And we were like, yeah, sure. So I kind of got thrown into the music side of everything because of that first sort of opportunity that I had to manage. And then obviously acting as their lawyer throughout the entire negotiation, even though I had no idea what I was doing at the time. But I was in law school and I knew more than any other lawyer that they were willing to pay. So I just was able to sort of do that and commission it, and that sort of was the framework, or I guess the first step to this ultimate career.
Do you hit any nightmare clients where you're like, never again am I working with this person? We don't have to name drop or anything, but
I won't name drop, although it would be funny to see me name drop someone and you have to blurp it out on YouTube. But yes, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, you run into when I was managing before I got into full-time legal, when I was managing, it's a lot more intimate. And so in that arena, your personality either needs to match a client's personality really well, or it needs to be like the yin and yang personality thing. And anywhere in between, you're probably gonna butt heads in some capacity or another. But yeah, I think the nightmare client thing is all relative. It's based off of who has sort of that most responsibility with that client. Because some client could be a nightmare to me and an absolute treasure to someone else. And
that makes sense.
It's really because my personality doesn't necessarily understand or match that. But yeah, I mean, listen, if we were to get real about it, of course, nightmare clients, nightmare scenarios, nightmares in general. But the good things that happen from those situations always outweigh the bad.
So being an attorney, do you have to be a fairly assertive type of person?
It's a great question.
You got to be like a dominant personality almost.
It's a great question. I think that most attorneys do have that type A dominant OCD sort of argumentative personality. One of the reasons why I went into management before I became a lawyer, even though I went to law school and graduated, was because I never thought of myself as that type of personality. And I honestly didn't think that I had what it takes, or I guess what it took to be like not necessarily mean, but confrontational and assertive and all of that. And I knew I had that in me, but not from like the perspective of, I guess, the way that lawyers act. But I've realized now that, first of all, those traits come with experience. And it's a joke if you're acting like that and you don't have any experience. It's like, where are you drawing that from? So I get why I didn't feel like I had that sort of personality at that time because I had no experience. And so I think now I've had plenty of experience and I've gone through those beautiful situations and those nightmare clients. And because of that, I've developed a sort of sense of being able to be more confrontational, more stand up for my clients, whatever else. And then the other side of that too is that as a contract lawyer, as a lawyer that's somebody who's, what we call transactional law, not litigation, and it's in the music industry, which is supposed to be nice. It's not, but it's supposed to be a welcoming community. All of those factors go into why I do love my job and why I'm great for it, because I don't necessarily have to be that confrontational. I don't necessarily have to be that assertive. All I have to do is, stand up for what is right. And there are industry standards set in place that so everyone knows what's right and what's wrong. And I just, I've developed a nice way of being able to communicate without sounding like a complete asshole, and I think my clients appreciate me for that, our firm for that. And then also the executives and the business affairs lawyers that we're working with appreciate that as well, because of course there's that old school ideology that lawyers are all kind of like selfish and, deals will fall through with the lawyers. And I just don't want to be part of that ecosystem. So I'm hoping to be in a new wave of attorneys, especially in Nashville, that are both smart and also understanding of the overall picture versus the minute, like selfish needs of a law firm.
So can anybody hire your services, or are you guys very selective about your clientele?
I'm personally very selective. I think a lawyer isn't a lot of lawyers aren't going to necessarily turn down work, especially if they're being paid properly. But at our firm, we're a small boutique firm anyway, as it is, and we do have a relatively top heavy roster. And what that means is that like most of the money that gets made is generated from the top, 25% of our roster, whoever those artists may be. So we do try to be very selective. And then also on top of that, I am also very selective myself when it comes to artists and when it comes to music itself. I would rather represent within the genre and within the sort of, I guess, whatever types of music that I actually like. I think that's super important.
Yeah.
So
something you can click with.
Of course. And like at our firm, we do all genres, and there are other lawyers and they have more of a feel for the rap community. They have more of a feel for the rock community. They have more of a feel for EDM. I don't listen to EDM. You know what I mean? So if some DJ from Austria wanted to hire Jay Schaff, I would recommend them to another lawyer at our firm, Annie. You know what I mean? Or another law firm altogether. But I wouldn't take on that work. That'd be irresponsible. I don't know anything about that. And I also don't like the music. So I can't really like passionately stand behind something, Whereas, in country music, my space of music, it's a lot easier to be passionate about that because it's what I listen to. And therefore, it's a lot easier to defend and work for those clients.
You think some genres are harder to navigate than others?
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. I think you kind of grow in this industry knowing that the rap community and the pop community are different animals in themselves. And even in EDM and now in Latin, I mean, the music is one of, in my opinion, two global universal languages here on earth. It's that and it's fucking soccer, and every country, every person, everyone speaks those two languages, music and soccer or football. And so music being one of them, obviously it's so globalized now that there are obvious different industry standards and whatever else that change depending on the genre. So with that being said, or at least within the main basic genres here, like pop, rap, country, whatever, rock, I think the classical music, classical rock, even punk rock a little bit, any sort of country, folk, alternative, singer songwriter, that community is traditional in a sense where it still is a community. There are still rules. People operate by those rules, and there's still some loyalty and trust there. I think pop music and rap music, there's just so much money behind it nowadays, and there's a lot more ability to take advantage of the various different people that contributed to a record versus in a country song, it's really only like 2 or 3 or 4 people max. On a rap record, sometimes it could be closer to 10, 15, 20 people.
Really?
Yeah. There are 5 writers in every room. There's 2 producers. I didn't like the way that this producer used, this piano loop, but I'm going to go to this producer and use their piano loop, but I still have to, give that producer publishing or co-producer credit because we still paid him to work on the song and blah, blah, blah. And then a lot of rappers, and even in pop music too, will use samples from old songs that exist. And, that's a whole other clearance process and whatever else. So, I think that to answer your question, there's a lot more variables in pop and rap because of money, because of the amount of contributions to each song more than just the artist themselves. And then that makes things a lot more complicated. Everyone's represented legally in some fashion. So, being a lawyer on that side, you're dealing with this person's lawyer, this person's lawyer, this person's lawyer, and they're all fighting for their own client. And no one's really on the same page about what the goal is, which is to put out a good song, and get it out there. And I've done a lot of work in that space. And I mean, like I said, our firm does. I managed in that space a little bit. And so I know what it's like. And I would just say, like, I'm young. You guys, everyone knows that. And I've already come to the conclusion that the country space is where I want to be because of those exact reasons,
So do you guys get paid like a normal attorney hourly, or do you guys get like percentage of deals?
Yeah, so good question. And the answer is both. We always ask our clients what they would want to do. We give them both of those options. It's an hourly billing, or it's a overall 5% commission on whatever money that we help bring in. And 95% of the time will agree, and a client will do a commission structure. And then that way, there's nothing out of pocket. And then most of the time, because it's 5%, which is like a federally stipulated rate that we can charge, we ask for the money on top for whatever deal we're getting done. So we'll just say like, hey, can we have legal on top here versus like having the artist have to pay the 5% out of whatever they made to us, like they have to do for managers and agents and stuff like that. So that's typically the structure we do, especially for artists, especially for developing artists. But yeah, I mean, like if I was working with more of a corporation or more of a a company centric client, then it would probably be more beneficial for them to have us billed hourly versus commission. It ends up being cheaper that way for them. And then also, it's a little bit better for us to know that we're getting paid for our work right away. Versus like having to do a shit ton of work and then like hoping that we get a deal in a couple of months that we could commission 5% that makes up for the sort of 3 or 4 months of work we've been doing for free.
So then how often do you guys get burned?
We're smart about it, and I think that goes into the selective process of signing clients. You know, for me personally, I think like I typically won't get in on something unless there's either deals on the table already, or they feel like they're in a good position that with my help I can push across the line to a point where, like, you know, we're not waiting months and months for a deal to come in. We just kind of jump into the negotiation right away. Like if you're an artist and you got an offer from, let's say, MCA, which is a big Nashville label, but you didn't have a lawyer yet, like I would want to be the person you would call, so that way I can just jump into the work, versus like being like, okay, hey, I think I'd like a lawyer. You know, I haven't talked to anyone yet, but I've been releasing music, and like, you know, I think I'm good. Like even if I think you're good, you know, that's not necessarily good enough for me to bring to the firm. You know, at my level, I still offer pro bono services, and I'll still be pretty hands-on with developing acts that I like, because I can, and because that was my background. So I'm here more so than maybe others are, but if you're going to legitimately be making money, or I should say is you need to be what I would call financially qualified, which means like you have money on the table, or you're going to be negotiating for money that's worth it for us to put our work into, you know?
That makes sense. So then, are you a big fan of? Could you listen to a lot of country then, or is it just the closest genre that you just like working with that genre?
No, I mean, I do. I'm a big country music fan. I mean, I grew up in a small town in Connecticut where my parents didn't let me listen to music with swears in it early on. So I, you know, was listening. The only swear I was allowed to hear was on Toby Keith's I forgot what the name of the song was, but on his 2001 album, where he says, "Oh, we'll put a boot in your ass. It's the American way." And it's like all about 9/11 and whatever.
Okay.
But that was like the only thing I was allowed to say, because my parents are very patriotic and whatever else. But I got into so that was like my early stages of music, and then obviously as you get older in high school and whatever, you get into rap, and I loved Kanye West, I loved Kendrick Lamar, I loved it all. Mac Miller, obviously, when I was a kid, was an icon for us. Wiz Khalifa, Fetty Wap, like all that stuff. Earl Sweatshirt, Tyler Creator. Got really into that. But the thing with rap music the reason why I liked it was all about lyrics. It was always a lyric junkie. I was always like searching for the toughest bar, whatever that meant, you know? And then I think that over time, and as I got more involved in actually working with musicians while I was in law school, I just kind of morphed the two, you know, found singer-songwriter, folk music, Bon Iver, Noah Kahn, stuff like that. That's like really solid lyric. That's like really solid production-wise, but there's an emphasis on the lyrics and what they mean and how personal and intimate they are and relatable and all that fun stuff. So I think I sort of just had different phases of music over my lifetime as anyone else would. And, you know, obviously went through a huge, you know, emo stage, Green Day, like all that fun stuff. And I used to work with this British, basically a young Fall Out Boy type artist,
okay.
Who I loved and I still love, and I love that type of music. So I have a love for a lot of different genres, but I find that country is where not only where I started, but also where I've ended up, and I believe in that natural sort of timeline of things, you know. And there's a lot of nowadays country is more than just country music. There's classical, but there's country rap, there's country rock. I mean, country rock music right now is my favorite. That's what everyone's listening to. And it's awesome. And then there's obviously like the
country rock. What is that like? Like
Yeah.
what Old 60 does?
Yeah,
Is that
kind of like what
country?
Old 60 does. Like, have you heard of Treaty Oak Revival? If you listen to the band Treaty Oak Revival, they're great. They're out of Texas. I'm not sure if Justin has any cuts with them, but he should. But they're a great band, and they're sort of bringing that punk rock. It's like punk rock, but it's like with like a bunch of Texas boys, you know?
Okay.
So it's really cool.
I'm a big fan of a band that it's like Southern punk.
Yeah.
They're called Nashville Pussy.
Oh yeah, I've heard of them. Yeah, of course.
But I mean, they were doing that kind of sound back in early to mid 90s.
Yeah. I mean, that's pioneering.
Hank the Third.
Yes.
That kind of thing.
Yes, exactly. That's a little bit more. It's a little bit more. I don't know what the word is, but it's what Treaty Oak does is a combination of that and like basically think about like what's a good band reference? Like think about like All American Rejects, like something like that. You know
so just a little bit more poppier sound.
A little bit more poppier, correct? Exactly. But yeah, it's a great, but there's a lot of electric guitar and drum solo and you know the tone of the main singer's voice is a little squeaky and kind of sounds like a regular, you know, punk rock early 2000s singer. And it all just blends really well together. So but again, there's an emphasis on the lyrics and like what that means and a lot of regional references of Texas and Oklahoma and like all that kind of stuff. And if you know, you know. And I really enjoy when artists don't care about commercialization of their songs, especially within the lyrics, and then become commercial because of that. You know?
Right, I see what you're saying. So did you have anybody in your life that was surprised you went the whole lawyer route? Was anybody like, whoa, or
yeah,
is everybody pretty much just like, yeah, no, we've seen that coming?
No, I mean, I think my parents probably knew that I was gonna do something like that. But no, man, I mean, it surprised me too. I always knew that I majored in English and politics, but it was kind of bullshit because like I played college sports and so like I didn't have to go to class and whatever. But I did take it seriously, and my dad's was a professor for 25 years, so I kind of grew up under that education bubble, but never taking it like my parents weren't like tiger parents. Like, of course, I had to get good grades and do well and all this stuff, but they also believed in output legitimacy, which was more of like if you do well, we don't really care what else you do in school, you know? And so it was more motivating. It was more motivating to sort of achieve that level of freedom. Like, yeah, like my parents let me kind of do what I want because I earned it, you know what I mean, in school. And I kind of felt like that all the way through. But no, I mean, I think that was buried deep inside me. And I think most of my friends in high school, college, before I went to law school and committed to that. And even after, because honestly, like I didn't go directly into law right away after, even though I graduated and took the bar and did whatever else. I went into management for 6 years. And I think that a lot of people in that part of my life would be shocked even today to see or to know that I pivoted back, you know? But
before we jump back into things, I just want to take a minute to let you guys know that I am accepting new clients. So if you would like to tell your story on the show, or if you would just like a new tattoo, head over to www.blackandgray.family or scan the QR code on the screen, and let's get back to the episode.
But yeah, no, I'm not sure anyone saw it coming. I think everyone probably assumed I'd be a gym teacher or a baseball coach or something like that. But or like you know, I love mowing lawns, so I've always wanted to own a landscaping business. Dude,
I've never heard anybody say they love mowing lawns.
I landscaped for one summer when I was in high school, and I just fell in love with it. It's like very peaceful, and nice lawns. You know what I mean? I don't want to work on your crappy lawn, but I will take out my my 4-wheeler mower and mow a nice lawn and be proud of it after. But yeah, I think people probably assumed I was going to do that. Maybe teach. My dad's a teacher. I think in high school, I was like voted most likely to come back to school to like teach at my high school. So I think that was probably what it was, but I'm excited where I ended up. And I think, every day sometimes I have to pinch myself and remind myself that I've lived in 5 states, 2 coasts, worked with some of the biggest clients in the world. And now I'm kind of doing my own thing in Nashville, and I'm still almost, I almost turned 31 soon, but I'm still fairly young. Some would say.
Did you did you guys have your high school reunion yet?
You know what? We did and we didn't. Every year they have to, there's like a student from that year has to like basically initiate the planning of that. And if no one from your high school year initiates the planning, they don't do it.
Really? I didn't know that.
Well, that's from my high school, because I also went to a Catholic, all boys Catholic high school. So it's not like they have tons of money to like invest in that sort of thing. But yeah, and it's weird because I had a great year, and there were I had 2 NFL quarterbacks come out of my year. Not
No
one,
shit.
2 NFL quarterbacks, Will Levis and Tim Boyle. I had, a bunch of really cool people that are in different spaces now. The head of A&R at Electric Feel, and just like different things. And yeah, no one asked to put it together. So that was a while ago. I mean, my 10-year anniversary would have been in 2023. But yeah, I remember texting one of my old teachers who's still there and being like, "Hey, when's the reunion?" And he was like, "Hey, like no one stepped up," and I was in California, so I didn't even know about it. But yeah, how about you? Have you been to a reunion?
I didn't finish high school, so I didn't
nothing
get
to
any-
reunion.
Yeah, no invites to be at the festivities.
That's awesome.
Yeah, school was not my forte. I didn't like the teachers. Teachers didn't like me. And the moment they were like, "Hey, bud, you're 16. You don't have to be here. You can definitely drop out if you don't want to be here that bad."
Yeah, you.
I was like, "For real? You all
peace.
tell me I can just not come back?" And they're like, "Yeah." I was like, "Sign me up."
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, you probably had natural skill sets that you all were already developing and whatever else. I just had no idea what the heck I was gonna do or what I was good at.
Yeah,
so.
no, not at all, man. I dropped out of high school and thought I was gonna be like a cool kid and go out there and sell dope and be a gangster, and learned I am not gangster enough to sell drugs. Got into construction.
That will humble you real fast.
Yeah. I didn't know tattooing was a thing I even wanted to do. I just started doing it because it made more sense for me to do it for. It takes me an hour setup stencil to do 30 minutes to an hour to do a name. And if I charge $30 for that name, that's $30 an hour.
Yeah.
So it just made more sense to pursue the tattoo thing than it did anything else.
Yeah.
And I just stuck with it, and I wanted to make more money at it. To make more money at it, you got to get better at it. So it all just kind of created this cycle. And in the meantime of all that happening, I get sponsored, I'm winning trophies, getting in magazines, I'm reaching all these milestones that I should be paying attention to, but it just never made a difference to me.
Yeah.
Like, no client has ever come into my shop and been like, "Oh, you only have 10 trophies? I'm out of here, bud." Like, it's never been a thing.
Yeah, dude. I mean, the trophies are cool. What a flex. And like we were speaking about off camera, good things. I always believe in the universe, and that the right path shows itself, and that if you obviously the equation is still you holding up your end of the bargain, but by doing what you're sort of doing and naturally following what the universe has laid out for you, then that is your plan, and you're doing exactly what you're supposed to be doing. And
Yeah, I feel that. There's been I don't know how I still have a tattoo career, man, because I have been completely irresponsible for the majority of my life. And tattooing just it has always gotten better. No matter what I've done to screw things up in my personal life or anything like that.
Yeah.
That even bleeds into affecting like my professional life sometimes.
Sure.
Tattooing has never left me.
That's awesome. That's truly a blessing, honestly.
So what's the reasoning behind the tattoo?
It's a good question. I mean, I'm a big Greek mythology guy in general. I have always wanted to sort of be fully tattooed with the entire history of Greek mythology, if that can make sense. And I don't have any, which is crazy as of now. So I wanted to do that, break my cherry on that. And then so I can start building that up more. And then B, the story of Icarus is flying too close to the sun, getting the set of the wings and flying too close to the sun. And, you know, the lesson when you're a kid is taught hubris. That's where that comes from, which is obviously being humble. Or else you get burned. So what they don't tell you about in that story is that, yes, Icarus flew too close to the sun, and yes, his wings burned, and yes, he fell to the ground, but he then did it again. He rose. And I think that there's a piece of me in that story, that second part of that, actually both parts of the story, where, you know, you get really confident and you fly too close to the sun and you need to be humbled, but it's not the end of the story. That's the thing. You take what you've learned and you go about it again and you do it differently, or you do it better, whatever that might be. So
that has been my entire jiu-jitsu career.
Bang, perfect example of it. And so this tattoo, you know, most Icarus tattoos or most depictions of Icarus is actually him falling from the sun with one of his wings burnt. But this image is of Icarus pointing back up to the sun, you know, after he had fallen. So, and then the Latin term on the side of it literally means to rise. So yeah, that's the meaning. But what'd you say about jiu-jitsu?
That you literally just described my entire jiu-jitsu career.
Oh, wow. Well, jiu-jitsu is awesome, and one of those things that I wish I could do, and I honestly I can't. I don't have the body type for it. You need to be like a little long, a little flexible, a little
yeah, all that comes with it.
But I just feel like I trained at I've trained Muay Thai most of my life as well with boxing. And the gym I trained at, obviously they do jiu-jitsu because they're an MMA gym. So jiu-jitsu is one of the things that they have to learn. And anytime that I would get in cycle, I couldn't do it. I could wrestle pretty well because I'm like small and I can get low and I know how to use my head to work, but I get choked out pretty easily.
Yeah, I think that's everybody when you first start jiu-jitsu.
I guess you're right.
When you first start jiu-jitsu, you just get used to getting choked the fuck out.
Yeah, I guess you're right. My first job when I moved to LA and was still in law school and managing artists, I did all of this at the same time. Wasn't making any money though. So I worked at a gym and I worked as like basically an executive assistant to this guy named Tiki, who at the time was TJ Dillashaw's manager.
Oh, nice.
And trainer. And it was TJ Dillashaw, Rampage Jackson, Brian Ortega, George Masvidal, all these guys.
Nice.
And mostly bantam and featherweight guys, obviously some heavyweights. But yeah, I mean, we were, that was like, I'd literally just lived in the same town in California that this gym was. And I was like, I'll ask for a job. And they were like, we need like an executive assistant. So I followed this guy around. He knew I was in law school. So I did a lot of like the fight contracts for some of the lower level ones, like not obviously UFC or Bellator at the time. It was mostly like LFA and Cali Cage Wars and these lower level promotions. But Got to see a lot of that action and work, and then also it was mandatory to train. He didn't let me. Obviously, I was an athlete, but I was never a fighter. You know what I mean? But I did 3 years with them, and I fully trained, and I'm now a certified boxing coach as well.
Nice.
But yeah, I love fighting, man. Not like fighting for that reason. I like training to fight.
Yeah, I'm scared of actual fighting.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, I never had the talent to actually do it, but I have pretty fast hands. I bet I could knock some motherfucker out in like a small time promotion.
That's why I'm afraid of fighting. I don't want to get knocked out. I would rather just get into a position and not die.
Yeah, that's a good point. But if someone got me on the ground and started to fuck around, I would definitely tap. I mean,
yeah, that's where I'm confident that in most situations I can get into a position to where I may not be able to submit you if you're like a lot bigger than me and shit, but I know that you can't hurt me.
Right, exactly. Yeah, and also like honestly, like my weight distribution for my height level never made sense for a real fighter. Like for my height, 5'8", like, and that's giving myself a little bit. Like if I were to really fight these days at like 5'8", 5'7", and even when I was training and I still weighed less than too, like I would still have to cut. Like I'd probably fight in bantamweight, like 135 or something like that. Maybe 145 max, but even 145, like you can get a 5'10", 5'11", lanky ass.
Oh yeah,
145 guy who will fuck you up, like Sean. You know what I mean? So I mean, like, what am I going to do?
Sean's a 35, ain't he?
Is he 35?
Yeah.
Yeah, even better. That's what I'm saying. Like, what am I going to fight in 135, 125, and just have my head kicked off? Like, the only thing I could do is like act Russian and wrestle. You know what I mean? But that's not even my fighting style. My fighting style is hands. So it was even, they took it seriously enough to the point where like I would spar, I would do different things. I was sparring partner for a couple of clients, like some of the lower level guys, whatever else. And like, it was just like, I walk around at 185, dude. You know what I mean? Like, so it's like, it was never, I was either knocking the shit out of kids that were like 125 with no jawline, or I was getting the shit kicked out of me. You know what I mean? There was no in between. So, you know, there was a small second in there while being in law school, while managing artists, while doing all of this stuff, where I thought, fuck, maybe I'll try to fight. But you know, you need to train for, you know, how hard that is and how much time that takes. And I just, you know, I could never actually do that, but it was fun to think about. And I'm glad that I can defend myself now. And I never had any of those skill sets before that point. So I'm a big believer in MMA, and getting my kids will all be involved at a very young age for that exact reason.
Yeah, I refuse to let my kids be a victim.
Exactly. Especially because I can sense I'm going to have girls. I feel like, you know, when you're a dad, you're going to be a girl dad, mostly. Like, I will absolutely, like, of course I'm athletic and my girlfriend's athletic and whatever else. And like, we would have sports babies, but I think it's most important to get them into not only knowing how to defend themselves, but also just knowing how to train hard, you know?
Yeah.
At an early age.
Yeah, get rid of that lazy tendency immediately.
Yeah, exactly. Don't even teach her. They don't even know better.
Switch your thing aside from work, man. You, I mean, obviously you're into athletics and sports and all that. You like video games, movies, music. Like, I mean, obviously you like music, but like,
yeah, with
it being a job, like people ask me, do you watch Ink Masters? It's like, I know, I tattoo all day. I love tattooing, but I don't go home and watch tattooing.
Yeah, well, I certainly don't go home and like research legalese and shit like that. But no, I mean, I like to do a lot of things. I like to experience life. So like, you know, I like to go on hikes and walks and discover stuff like that. I mean,
Okay.
I'm not really like I used to be like a bigger hiker and whatever else, but I've gotten a lot more lazy about that situation these days. But like I like to drive places. I've driven across the country multiple times and, stopped in all these different cities and experienced that. And, so I guess travel is something I like to do. And then, I honestly, I love to like smoke weed and like just chill and build Lego sets sometimes,
You're a
like
Lego guy. Okay.
yeah. I whatever. I'm kind of a nerd, but I love that. I love that kind of thing. And then I like to read like fantasy fiction stuff like that, and murder mysteries.
Have you ever tried those at-home murder mystery games?
I haven't yet, but I got invited to a murder mystery party in a
Ooh.
couple of weeks, so I'm looking forward to that. It's someone's birthday, and they're doing this whole thing, and I have to dress in character. I was given a character form, so that part I'm not stoked on. But if it's not cringe and it not quirky, then it should be good. So I'm excited for that. But no, have you?
Yeah, they're pretty neat. I
Cool.
did the at-home case file game, I think.
Oh yeah, I've seen that.
And then I did a murder mystery party a couple years ago, actually.
Was it fun?
Yeah, it was like an 80s themed thing.
Oh, sick. Yeah, mine's like a 20s themed. 1920s, I should say. Do you have any plans tonight?
After this, I gotta go pick up my son and tomorrow take him shopping for a new airsoft gun.
That's fun.
So just hanging out with the fam.
Any like New Year's Eve traditions?
Oh, I forgot today was New Year's Eve.
Yeah, dude.
No, I'm old, bro. I pass out early as shit, get up early.
Yeah, same. I'm the same way. That makes sense.
What about you being down there in Nashville?
Well, we'll see. I mean, I'm normally an early guy. Like in LA the last few years, it's been that city's chaos on New Year's and 4th of July. It's like the fireworks are everywhere on every block, and it's like dangerous, It's almost like a war zone outside. But I'm looking forward to, I think there's some really cool Nashville fireworks tonight off on the river, and my apartment's got like a cool like rooftop deck thing. So if it's not too cold out, probably stay up and watch the fireworks. But also Stranger Things finale comes out tonight, and
Oh yes, it does, doesn't it? I'm a big Stranger fans guy.
We're a big Stranger Things family over here. But so we'll probably enjoy that until I think it comes out at 8 or something.
Nice.
And then we'll be able to watch that, and then hopefully catch a few fireworks and pass out, go to bed. Typically around this time of the year when I was managing, it was always the worst because there are so many parties in Hollywood and in general, wherever you are. But if you're within like the entertainment industry, there's a lot of New Year's parties. And one of the biggest things you have to do is like get your clients into these parties. And it's a lot of like PR politics. So I'm so relieved.
Why do you have to get your clients into, they can't get themselves into parties?
Well, you would think like that they could do that, but typically the way that in that world, they don't talk to each other. So like sometimes they do. And if you're like really close with like Justin Bieber, like, yeah, like you could probably text Justin and like get into his house. But like otherwise, if you don't know Justin like that, but you want to go to his party and you're some A-list celebrity or whatever, like you have to go, you talk to your manager talks to Justin's manager and then gets him in. So your people talk to my people.
So when they throw parties, they're throwing like legit events. It's not just like a college house party.
No. These are like sponsored events that have like your gift bag outside is
really
like $3,000 to $5,000 worth of stuff.
Holy cow.
Yeah. Because everybody wants to bring their like, food truck or their tattoo business and pop up at Justin Bieber's house. You know what I mean? And that shit happens all the time. So that's really when you go to those parties, that hurts. They're
Yeah, you're gonna have that part. Sorry.
it's okay. It's all about the experience, you know? So it's about giving whoever's going to your party the biggest experience. So that way they'll talk about it on social media and post pictures and whatever else, you know?
Huh.
A lot of times these brands will even reach out to celebrities. Like they don't necessarily want to have a party. Like I've worked with clients that don't even attend their own parties sometimes, but
Really?
like a brand will pay them a lot of money to utilize basically their house and their name and likeness, and then get like a bunch of vendors set up and bring a lot of influencers, and everybody wins, you know?
That seems kind of cool.
Yeah.
Have you gotten to go to these parties?
You know what? I have, but typically in the fashion of like being there in support, you know? It's never, I haven't drank at any one of these parties yet. Let's just say that.
Okay.
Yeah. There's a sense of responsibility that goes into play there, but being a lawyer is a little different because you're on an artist team, but you're not really like, you're not responsible for any of that kind of stuff. So it's like, now if I were to get invited to those parties as a lawyer alone, like I wouldn't have to babysit anyone. You know what I mean?
That'd be cool.
So I'm looking forward to that time, but see what happens.
So then what's your goal with it all? I mean, do you want to like have your own firm? Do you just gonna ride the wave until you retire?
Yeah, I don't know. I think I'll probably end up getting back into management, with a different perspective and more years and maturity under my belt. I could see myself working at a major, as in like a major label or publishing company, whether that be in like their business affairs office or even as like an A&R executive or an executive in general. And I think that's really what I'm hoping for. And like, I don't know if I should even say that, because like I don't even know if that is what I'm hoping for, but I've done a lot already in my 10 years of doing this, and I would think that I would be a great fit for a label, for a publishing company that brings both management and legal experience to the page and knows how to, you know, work artists, but also knows how to work the business. And so hopefully, I don't know, I'd love to end up being at one of those, some executive in some label. That would be awesome.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, management, I'll probably end up in management, but all of that said, I love the firm I'm at now. I love my boss. I love all the attorneys, and my goal ultimately is to make partner at this firm first before I do anything else. Yeah.
Make partner,
but
then
I
bring
have
your
the
goals
years
to the table.
What is that?
Make partner, then bring your goals to the table.
Yeah, exactly. And I have years left before that even
Okay.
becomes possible. So it really is now in this like ride out period of building my own roster in the city and letting that build out the firm's reputation for its work within the country atmosphere. And then typically what happens is a major client will fire their lawyer at some point or another, and will hire us. And as soon as I sort of get that crown jewel client, like, then hopefully that will propel the timeline, you know?
When it comes to getting into management,
Yeah.
how does that work when you find an art? Like, do you actively search for somebody who's up and coming, or do you find somebody who's already kind of made it and looking for a manager? Or
it's both of those things. I mean, it depends on what you want. I mean, if you're working at a management firm already and they have like a business and they have a business model and a P&L sheet, like you can't just go sign developing acts that aren't going to make a lot of money right away, unless you like truly believe that you can be the reason why they like jump the line. You know what I mean? So, but if you're working independently and you're a solo manager, like it's good to get in on artists that early. And typically that is what you're doing, research. You're finding things that haven't been heard yet, that haven't been seen yet. Because then if you're responsible for developing something that no one's ever heard of, and it gets to a point, it doesn't even necessarily need to be mainstream, but it gets to a point where it's successful and it's making money, then that's almost better than like being assigned or like having a major client come to you after they fired 5 managers in the past. You know what I mean? It's like that's not really like that fun or secure on the management side. The more fun part about it is discovery, development, and then being able to maximize based off of that. But it does happen in both ways where like, you know, a bigger client will fire a manager or leave their management, and then they'll come to you, and then you have to, you know, decide whether or not the money is worth the heartache, which often it's not. Or I guess often it is. Or you're doing some serious hardcore research trying to be the first on something, which these days is both impossible, but also possible because
Let's say, how do you go about searching for an artist?
So I mean, a couple of ways. I mean, a lot of times when you're in the industry, when you work in the industry and whatever else, like your social media these days is all algorithmic, and like my whole TikTok, let's just say, is literally the algorithm is like unsigned country boys with baseball hats on playing guitar, you know, and it's every single one of them. And they're all young, they're all doing it, and they're all doing covers of George Strait and Toby Keith and whatever else. And I looked that up once, you know what I mean? And like now that's my whole timeline. So my social media is sort of geared towards discovery, and I've done that intentionally now. And then the organic way before that sort of happened was just find something you like, right? And if you like The Fray, let's just say, and they have a song called How to Save a Life, and you love that song, then you go and find, whether that's like on YouTube or Instagram or whatever, just look up on Google and be like, How to Save a Life cover. And then take you to wherever platform that is, and then filter it by like when the video came out or when the cover came out or whatever, and then you just kind of go through them, you know what I mean? And it's like,
can an artist have good material but not be a marketable product?
100%. And that's really what happens most of the time. You know what I mean? Like the talent is endless, and I always joke around with A&Rs, like, you guys got to tell me what's good and what isn't, because it all sounds fucking good to me. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know what the real difference is here, because everyone's so talented these days and whatever else. So yeah, being marketable is obviously the key. And there is no right way of doing it. A lot of times it's natural, and like you're either have like a natural sense of humor, or you're funny, like you're good looking, or like you're obscure looking, or you have a funny mustache, or like, you know, you wear a big cowboy hat, or your accent's crazy, or whatever. But you have to have something, right? You have to have like an X factor. And so yeah, I would say that's a really good, astute observation, is that within the music industry, no one can really say like that person's going to be a star. I mean, like, we all get that feeling when we meet certain artists at different levels. And like, yeah, I've been right in the past, you know what I mean? But I've also been wrong, and everyone's been wrong. And like, so there is no like, check all these boxes and you're going to be a star or whatever else. Like, marketability is subjective these days. And it's not just check the boxes and be this young and be this cool and whatever else. It's really whatever the world is willing to accept in that exact moment, and it's constantly changing. So, you know, a lot of music and making it in the world of being an artist is timing, and it's being able to stay consistent with what you're doing over a long course period of time, to the point where social cycles come back and sort of pick you up. You know what I mean?
In a world of virality, is it harder now? Because it's easier to be found almost, but at the same time, your 15 minutes of fame, it seems like it's turned into 15 seconds of fame.
Yeah, for sure. I mean,
it
it's
seems like
it's not good enough to have a viral moment. A viral moment also is subjective as well. Like, you know, it's all relative. Like, you could have, if you have 0 fans and 0 followers and 0 posts and 0 likes and 0 whatever, and you put out one video and that video has 5 likes and 5 comments and whatever else, that's relatively viral. You know what I mean? Compared to what you were doing prior to that. So on my end of things, and when you're an A&R and when you're trying to discover music, you take the subjectivity of it. You look at how much this person's posted, you know, where their number started, how much it's grown, how fast that's grown. And then you try to figure out what we call engagement metrics, which are like comments that like say like, oh, this song needs to be on Spotify, or can you please cover XXX by whoever, you know what I mean? And like finding sort of those engagement tools is really what is translating right now to like actual people listening to your music on Spotify or Apple. So like you put out one video, you have a viral moment 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 2020, you would have signed $1 million record deal on the spot without anyone ever hearing you perform live or whatever else. And obviously nowadays, that's just not the case. There's so many talented things and there are so many people going viral and whatever else. And so you need to be more careful as an A&R or as somebody who's like looking to discover. Check back in on relativity, you know, where they've come from, check in on engagement levels, you know, how sincere, how honest those are. Like those things matter, and it's not a quantity metric, it's a quality metric. And that's how you differentiate, you know? Otherwise you're literally throwing a dart at a dartboard of 1 million balloons and you're probably going to miss, you know?
So then if you had one single piece of advice you could give somebody out there right now who's trying to do something with their music, what would that be?
Like an artist or like a business person? For an artist, I would say make sure that your lyrics and that your music means something to you, and then have whatever that meaning is, like know it like the back of your hand. So the one thing, even to this day, from since the inception of music and entertainment, the one thing that still exists is authenticity. And humans and human beings and people who listen to art are, even the dumbest of us are smart, and smart emotionally, and we all feel. And so like you can't really bullshit a bullshitter. And when you're a musician and you're trying to develop yourself and build fans and whatever else, and your music might be good or whatever, you can't bullshit a community of bullshitters, because that's what we all are. That's what all regular commercialization is. Like, it's just bullshit. So it's like, you have to be authentic. You have to be true to yourself always, no matter what, even if they hate it right now, you know? And otherwise, a fan base and people in general on the internet, like, will just see through it, you know? And so there's a lot of artists that I've worked with, or that I work with, or that I'm getting a lot of questions about, that are developing in a space now, especially with new technology, where you can create content that looks significantly more paid for. I'll just put it that way, right? Or you can spend, even if your mom's rich or whatever else, you can spend money on props and music videos and do all these things that in the 90s and early 2000s, like you needed to be signed to a major label and have a marketing budget assigned to you in order to do. And nowadays you can do it all kind of yourself, which is beautiful in a way, but it also,
It's like it muddies up the waters.
what'd you say?
So it seems like that muddies up the waters.
Yes, exactly. And it muddies up the waters, and it makes, if you do certain things like that too early on in your career, you look inauthentic doing it. And although that might sound like that's like the most niche situation of all time, it's really almost every situation these days for a developing talent where they're coming to me and they're like, what am I doing wrong? Like I'm posting every single day and it's always this same background and I'm incorporating these, high level things and whatever else and whatever. And it's like, simplicity is still the first step. You can't skip that step, So I think there's just a thrive or a willingness to want to skip steps. And especially early on, like I would say, if you haven't been doing it for 5 years, then you still haven't been doing it long enough to pivot. That's my biggest advice. Like pivot whatever your marketing strategy is, your image or the type of music you're making. I mean, I know artists like we talked about again earlier, like certain artists that were in a completely different genre for a decade before they found the sound, right? But they did that for 10 years. And because they now are doing this, they're more respected as like, okay, he didn't just do this type of music in 2013. And then in 2014, he was doing this. And in 2015, he was doing that and just like spitballing. It was like, no, he genuinely had a 10-year career doing this. And now he's starting that. And now people can respect that he pivoted all the way to this because of the history of what the work and what he earned, even though he didn't necessarily make it. You know what I mean? So I would just say like, you just have to.
I think the heaviest rebranding I've seen was Machine Gun Kelly.
Yeah. MGK is a great example.
And he did it great, man.
Dude, his 2020 album, I listen to when I ski, my skiing album, because when you're running down a mountain, when you're skiing down a mountain, you have MGK rock on. It's awesome. But like, exactly. And you know what? I was not a fan of his as a rapper, and it wasn't because he didn't have bars. I thought he had bars. It was because, I was an Eminem fan and they had beef,
right.
You know what I mean? And like, so like, I was just like, who the fuck's this guy? But then he puts out Tickets to My Downfall. He's a total rocker. And I fucking love him now. You know what I mean? I've been to his house a couple times and he's a great guy and like a genuinely nice dude. And like, exactly. People would not have respected him pivoting to rock music the way that he did if he had done that at the same time as he was trying to, rap battle Eminem in 2013, or even if he did it in 2013, 2014, or 2015, or whatever the years were. And right away after Eminem, after those, diss tracks or whatever, if he just went right into that. No, he stayed what he was doing for a while and then sort of almost blended the two before he fully went into rock,
Yeah, I used to think he was just another young rapper, and then seeing what he's done with his brand over the last couple of years, I've been really impressed by it.
Yeah, it's crazy. His tattoos are crazy, huh?
Oh, man, he's gone through it. I'd love to get him on the show. That would be
awesome, huh? Yeah. Does he have any room?
I mean, even if I did a small one,
yeah,
I'm even to the point to where if a guest doesn't want to get tattooed, if it's a big enough guest, I want them to tattoo me.
Yeah. Oh, sick. That's sick. Great concept.
And they can just do their signature or just something, a star, a heart, anything,
This one on my inner calf is one of my favorite artists' handwriting.
That's great.
So it's like the same sort of thing. But yeah, that'd be cool.
You, my friend, are done.
No way.
Here, let me get you cleaned up. You can check it out.
That took 2 seconds.
Wasn't bad, about an hour.
That's awesome.
Is there anything you want to say before we pipe off of here, man?
No, dude. Well, first of all, just thank you so much. Obviously, like this is a great experience, and I think that what you're doing in terms of bringing both the tattoo community together with the rest of the world, honestly, through podcast form and through video is iconic, and no one's done it and no one's doing it. And so, yeah, just really blessed to have this opportunity, and just very grateful. And I think what you're doing is awesome. And yeah, to all the young artists out there, and everyone else who's trying to make it in the music business, just know that, you know, it's also a big community, and we're all here together. And if anyone ever, you know, is listening to this and needs any advice on anything, please feel free to reach out. So yeah, thanks,
All right, well,
Rob.
thank you very much. Thank you for being here. Thank you for the kind words, man. And we'll catch you guys on the next one.